Some authors don't just write adventure stories. They build these powerful lessons about what it really means to be human. Today, we're talking about one of those authors, Theodore Taylor. He was a storyteller who took us on thrilling survival journeys, sure, but he used them to explore some of the deepest questions we face. So what is it that makes his stories stick with us for so long?
Seriously, think about it for a second. Is it just the action, the suspense, or is it something more? Chances are, a lot of us remember reading a book back in school about a boy and an older man stranded on a tiny island. But that story was about so much more than just finding food and water. And that, right there, is the heart of Theodore Taylor's work. He used the thrill of adventure as a Trojan horse to teach something way more profound, the ability to truly see the world through someone else's eyes. This wasn't some happy accident. It was the whole point of his storytelling. So here's how we're going to unpack his story. First, we'll look at how his tales went way beyond simple survival. Then, we'll dive into the life experiences that shaped who he was. We'll see how he wrote with this incredible respect for his readers, explore his most famous book, and finally, uncover the powerful lesson he left behind for all of us. Okay, let's jump right in. Taylor really carved out a unique space for himself. He was an author who wasn't afraid to challenge young readers. He was asking them these huge questions about courage, prejudice, and conscience right there on the page. He truly believed kids were ready for that conversation. So what gave him the guts to tackle such heavy themes? Well, to get his writing, you really have to get his life. His worldview wasn't something he just cooked up in a quiet library. It was forged in the fire of the 20th century's biggest events. And his life experiences are really the key to everything. Think about it. He grew up during the Great Depression, a time when society was questioning all the old rules about class and fairness. That really nurtured a curious mind. And then came World War II, where his time in the Pacific gave him a front-row seat to humanity under the most extreme pressure imaginable. This is absolutely crucial to understanding him. For Taylor, war wasn't some action movie. It was all about the human cost. He saw incredible fear, of course, but he also saw unbelievable bravery. He saw how people from totally different worlds could clash, but also how they could come together. All of those observations became the raw material for his most powerful stories. So after the war, Taylor turns to writing full-time, and he brings this very specific, very powerful philosophy with him, especially when it came to writing for young adults. He refused to talk down to them. And this comparison just says it all, doesn't it? At a time when so many kids' books had simple plots and just avoided tough subjects, Taylor went in the complete opposite direction. He trusted his readers with real moral complexity. He gave them characters who were flawed and brave and felt real because they weren't perfect. He treated his audience like the intelligent, feeling people they were. So how did all of this actually look on the page? Let's talk about the book that really cemented his legacy, the one that is, without a doubt, the ultimate expression of everything he believed in. The Cay is so much more than a survival story. The real island isn't just that patch of sand. It's the isolated world where this young, prejudiced boy, Philip, has to rely on the very man he was taught to despise. The book's true power is in that emotional journey, that moment after Philip goes blind and he asks to touch Timothy's face. In that instant, feeling the weathered skin, the scars, he doesn't see a black man anymore. He sees a kind, strong, and sometimes frightened human being. That is the difficult, painful, and beautiful process of unlearning hate. This quote just hits the nail on the head. Everything Taylor saw, the division and the unity in the war, people being judged on assumptions, it all fueled this core belief. Stories could be tools to build empathy. He wasn't just writing to entertain, he was on a mission to teach compassion. But Taylor's impact wasn't just about one book. His entire life's work carries this consistent, powerful thread about human dignity and having the courage to do the right thing. You can see it in his other books too, from the sequel, Timothy of the Cay, to his historical novels that wrestled with tough moral choices. The common thread is always there. He was constantly pushing his readers to ask hard questions about history, about justice, and about what it really means to respect another person. So, if we were to boil his life's work down to its essence, what would it be? I think it looks a lot like this. First, real courage isn't about not being afraid, it's about acting in spite of your fear. Second,
prejudice isn't set in stone. You can unlearn it through real, honest understanding. And third, that every single one of us, especially young people, has the power to be a voice for something better.
And that right there is his true legacy. He fought against the idea that young readers had to be sheltered from the world's complexities. Instead, he gave them stories that had real weight and meaning, trusting that they were strong enough to handle it and that they'd grow from it. He empowered them.
At the end of the day, Theodore Taylor's work is an invitation. It invites us to look deeper, to think harder, and to care more. It reminds us that empathy is a choice we make, and courage is something we do. And so the real question he leaves us with isn't just about the books we read, but about the lives we lead. What story will you choose to live?